Hello everybody, it's Josie here. I'm back with another two-book review. So these two books are ones that I've read so far in November, and the way that they're kind of linked and related is that they're both fantasy books. They're both actually classed as YA fantasy. One I would say is a bit more sci-fi fantasy, the other one more straight up fantasy, but in general they are fantasy books, and they also have queer content, so queer fantasy. One more than the other one. So the two books I'm going to talk about is, this one over here is A Dream So Dark by L.L. McKinney, which is actually the second book in the series. The first book is A Blade So Black, obviously by L.L. McKinney, and so I won't talk about the plot too much in this one, but I'll tell you kind of my thoughts on it. And the second book that I'm talking about is this gorgeous beast over here, is Criers War by Nina Varela. Nina Varela? Yeah. So this book, oh god, look at this cover, sorry, gorgeous, gorgeous. So actually, let me start with the L.L. McKinney book first, just because this is a sequel, and the problem with a second book in a series is that you don't want to kind of give away too much of the plot in case you haven't read the first one yet. But what the series is about is it's basically a reimagining of the Alice in Wonderland story, where Alice here is, first of all, this is wonderfully diverse. So Alice is a woman of colour. She is tough. She's very cool. It's kind of in an urban setting. But what happens in the first book is that she's kind of called to be she basically has to fight nightmares. So the premise is that Wonderland, in this kind of reiteration of the story, isn't really a happy, sunny place. There's kind of been fighting going on between the queens, and nightmares kind of come up from this world to attack humans. And it's Alice's job to keep the nightmares in Wonderland. She's not the only one, so there's different gates within Wonderland where you have different keepers. So you always have, so I feel like it relates to Buffy a little bit in the sense that you have kind of like the Slayer and the Watcher, if you know Buffy. So in this you've got Alice who kind of fights the demons, and then she's got almost like a Watcher or someone that trains her and helps her and does a lot of like the logistical work around it. And the first book I adored. It was amazing. I like the premise. It's really a kind of a cleverer version of Alice. I think I've read a lot of kind of Alice in Wonderland stories that stuck very much to the original, whereas this takes the original and really kind of reworks it, and I really love that. There's some great diversity in this book. So in the first book you get a sort of a romance between one of the princesses of Wonderland and her knight, who is a woman, and it's very sweet. So what I will say from the onset is I was really hoping for a lot more of that storyline in this book, and I did not get that. They kind of pop up right towards the end of the book, but one of the things that I was really looking forward to was kind of continuing that story between the princess and her knight, and there really wasn't that much. So I was kind of let down by that. The book itself is good. It does continue on from where you left off in the first one, so there's no big like huge jump in time or kind of a separate storyline. So if you don't like that, it definitely continues on from where A Blade So Black left off, and the story continues. There's a lot of action in this. Like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but it's very action packed, and I did enjoy it. But I don't know what it was. I just didn't connect to this one as much as I did to the first one. I loved the first one, and this one was okay, but it just didn't, I don't know. There are a couple of new characters in this that I really liked. One of the other guardians of one of the other gates, in Japan, I think it is, I really liked. That's a great character. But all in all, it just didn't grip me as much as the first one did. And maybe I need to go and read it the second time, because sometimes on a second reading you get more into it. But I really only, I think when I first finished it, I was like 3 stars, maybe 3.5, because it was still good. It's still like the action is still well written in that. It's just that I didn't love it as much as I loved the first one, and maybe also because I was looking for that storyline that I expectations, I guess, and I just didn't get it. So yeah, that let me down a little bit. So it's still good. It's like, if you like the first one, you know, carry on. I'd be interested to see what possibly the third book is going to do. But yeah, it's fun. It's a really different take on Alice in Wonderland. And if you want something like, if you want a lot of action and kind of there's some like fighting scenes and stuff in it, then this may be the book or the series really for you. And then the second one I read, which again is YA fantasy, is this one over here, is Criers War. This I saw, who did I see? Oh, it was Boston Reads Books talk about this, and I just thought, wow, this sounds really interesting. I want to read that. So basically this is, the reason I said it's a bit more sci-fi is that it's kind of set, yeah, I suppose you could I don't really get a space element as such, but it's kind of like an alternate reality. And what has happened is that humans, there was this development in engineering people. So basically you're talking about really, really sophisticated AI, and humans are now kind of servants to the AI, who are the rulers, basically. And you've got Crier, the main character, who is the daughter of kind of the ruler of this universe, this planet, this world. And she's betrothed to a very powerful man. They're kind of getting engaged. They engage to be married, and then she's been engineered, so she's an AI, but she thinks that there's a flaw in her engineering, which is bad. So you've got kind of that storyline going on of her trying to find out really who she is. She's got this, so the flaw that she thinks she has is another pillar within her kind of created DNA, which is passion. And then into the picture comes a human who is a servant, but one night she, within the sort of the larger kind of palace, or the larger, palace, I guess, and one night she actually rescues Crier. She kind of saves her life in a way, and Crier then appoints her as her kind of her lady maid. And there is a gorgeous, just a beautiful female romance in this book, and it's kind of it's an enemies to lovers kind of romance, just great. I love the complexity and the depth that these characters are written with. They really, this was one of these books where I really got into the emotion of it. I really got into their stories. I think it really kind of gets into the characters' heads and their feelings, and I think Nina did an incredible job of that. I love that. There's some kind of political court intrigue, world intrigue, but not too much of that. And then you have kind of the character bit of it as well. You've obviously got this kind of slow burn, enemies to lovers romance. That's incredible. And what I will say is that, and block your ears sort of while I put the book down, there's a heck of a cliffhanger ending that I was just like, what? No. And you have to wait for the second book. So, but I loved it. I'm assuming there's going to be a sequel. Has to be. But I really, really loved this. I thought this beautifully written. The inside is as pretty as this gorgeous cover is. And if you like that, if you like a gorgeous slow burn fantasy sci-fi with a bit of intrigue, kind of some mysteries, but also this gorgeous like romantic entanglement and really kind of character driven narrative as well, definitely read Criers War. Because this is the end, I think I said 4.5 stars just because I was like, no. But it's a 4.5, it's like a 5-star read. It's just really, really good. I really, really loved it. So I would really recommend picking that up if those are any kind of topics that interest you. And if you like that kind of, if you think it sounds interesting, definitely pick it up. It's really, really good. So that's it. Let me know if you've read any of them, again, if you've enjoyed them or any recommendations you have, and I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye-bye.